Hi, I'm Katie Dutcher from Flourish and Bloom and Monterey Bay Meditation Studio. And today, what I want to talk a little bit about is um, kind of, I guess there's many words for it, but sort of an adaptability. And I will explain. So I am seeing right now pretty vividly how life seems to, I say life, but you know, personal life, work life, the combination of all of this, it tends to go in cycles, or it definitely changes. And I'm imagining you've noticed this too, that there are certain times when, let's say, work is very busy, or the demands or the responsibilities um, with family or friends are really taking more time. And then underlying that, there's our own energy. Sometimes this goes together, but sometimes we go through periods where we have a lot of energy, we have a lot of inspiration, creativity. There's just this kind of sparkiness that moves us along, and it's effortless. And then maybe other times it seems a little heavier, it seems a little more difficult, and all of this changes. So that's one truth that we know, which is that everything changes. We change emotionally, um, energetically. Our body is always changing, and then the circumstances all around us are always changing too. So we know this, and yet I think that sometimes, speaking for myself, sometimes I tend to, like, when the world shifts around me, um, I kind of lock into some old expectation or old habit that had been appropriate in the past, in another time of life, but now um, begins to get in my way, begins to have things feeling constricted. So, what I wanted to just explore a little bit is this kind of ability that we can have with awareness and compassion to flow, to adapt, the ability to adjust and adapt depending on the circumstances, depending on what is in this moment, not depending on what we think it should be, right? So I mentioned that this is particularly kind of hot for me right now, and that tends to be what I share here. I like to talk about things that seem real for me in the moment, and so I often draw these things from my life. Um, right now, especially those who have kids in school or who work in a school, um, it's a cycle. It's this ooh, all of a sudden everything starts up, right? And you may be able to feel that even if you don't really have anything to do with a school, that all of a sudden we've made this change from summer, maybe a different pace of summer, to a newer pace here with fall. Um, I definitely notice this, and part of where I notice it is with teaching. Even though I'm not a full time administrator or teacher anymore in a school, I do teach at different places that are running on these schedules, and so I notice that I'm teaching more right now. Things are beginning, or that people who work at these schools are asking, having ideas for opportunities to teach mindfulness. And I mean, obviously, all of this is wonderful. I want to be doing this. That's the main thing I want to be doing. But at the same time, it means there's a different pace for me. So one of the things I was thinking in the summer, as I kind of looked forward into all that the fall was going to hold, I could already see that it was going to feel more full, a little more busy. And so at that time, the best thing I could think of was, I really would like in this time of busyness to um, not to just turn off in terms of my the supportive habits that I have, the routines that I've been trying to cultivate. I really would like to continue those because um, even though they take time, they do support me. They do nourish me and help me feel stronger and more calm. And I need that as it's a busy time. And I'm talking about, I guess the main ones for me are um, like healthy homemade food, um, daily walks, meditation, journaling, yoga or stretching, and my physical therapy exercises. Those are kind of the core ones. And I mean, as I list them, I'm even thinking, well, that's kind of a lot of things, right? But sometimes I can do all of those things, or most of them each day. And so I felt like, oh yeah, I want to keep doing those things because that feels good for me. But when I didn't, that was clearly the thoughts and the expectations of someone who wasn't in the moment of the busyness. Because what I found over the past week or two is that a lot more energy is taken up by teaching and preparing for teaching and kind of like resting after teaching. And so time and energy have been reallocated right now based on the different tasks and responsibilities. And what that means is um, that energy and time um, are resources that are not endless, and so we have to choose and adjust. And so um, I think I, like many of us, can sometimes have a tendency for all or nothing thinking. So there's this all part, which I kind of explained of I would like to do all of these things that support me and that will be ideal. That's the all. And then the nothing is if I cannot do all those things, if the energy and the time is not there for all of that, then there might be a slipping into coping mechanisms from the past of maybe just being really sedentary. I don't have the energy for all of that. I'm just going to sit here and be on my phone. There's that. That's an older coping mechanism to kind of tune out and tune into technology, um, or seeking comfort through eating certain kinds of food. These are older habits that I have, been working to kind of come away from and transform out of. But yet there's still, when all of a sudden things ramp up, um, the old pathways are still there, and so there could be this all or nothing thinking that actually um, that's actually what I was trying to avoid, is that when I get busy, all my wonderful habits go away, and then I end up worse than before. So so then, okay, if all or nothing is not going to be useful here, so now comes the challenging part about what is the middle way, or not the middle way, but what is a middle way? Um, and I really think that that is more challenging. It is more challenging to feel into and kind of discern what might be wise given these new circumstances, right? What is possible here? What would be helpful for me given these circumstances? And I'll give a couple examples. I'm not perfect with this, right? I'm definitely like in the moment feeling into this. But I'll give a couple examples that I've noticed here. So let's say that I would like to have an hour in the morning by myself to do some stretching and journaling and meditation. I would like to have an hour. Let's say I don't, though. I have 20 minutes. So all or nothing would then say, okay, you don't have what you want. You just have 20 minutes. And then maybe I would check my phone and spend that 20 minutes and maybe a little more in email and Instagram. Not that that's the end of the world, right? However, the middle way of thinking would be like, okay, I have 20 minutes. Where is this time best spent right now? And where it ends up for me, um, it kind of varies. Sometimes it's paying attention to my body, giving that time over to some stretching and maybe foam rolling, but that attentiveness to the body. And sometimes, maybe a little more often, it's meditation. That I know that the kind of calmness and steadiness of mind that meditation can help me with, that's what I need that day. And so using the time that is there in a way that is beneficial to me when I can, and not really spending extra energy beating myself up. Oh, you should have gone to bed earlier. You should have gotten up earlier. Why are you so tired? Why do you just have 20 minutes? That way just leads to spinning around and wasting energy. I'll give one more example of a kind of a middle way here. So let's say my ideal is healthy homemade meals that are varied, that kind of have all the nutrients, right? That takes time and that takes real intentionality, kind of planning it out. And then so I don't have that time right now to do all that I would like to there. Um, and so then on the other side, there's that kind of eating for comfort, kind of treats, goodies, um, eating out a lot. So that's again, it's not the end of the world, right? But there is a middle way where, maybe things are healthy-ish, as good as I can do, and maybe they're not varied. Maybe I kind of am like, well, this is a good meal, just keep going with that. That's fine. Um, that's fine, right? The it's like this thing of noticing that whatever is happening right now, it's for right now, and everything can change, and I can change with it. I'm sure that you probably have your own examples of how do you kind of let go of this all or nothing, and how do you um, adjust your own habits, adjust your own expectations. That's the big one. When you need to, when the circumstances call for it. Um, some folks would talk here about discipline, and for me, in a situation like this, when things feel busy, when energy might be a little lower, um, it isn't about discipline. Discipline in this case for me sort of leads to that perfectionism place that isn't as helpful. So for me here, it's more about wise compassion, right? So out of the if I meditate or if I make these healthy meals or something, it isn't so much about I better have the discipline to do this. This is good for me. But it's more about what would be helpful and supportive to me right now in this busy time. So being with what is and then responding to it, responding to myself and to others with less judgment and expectation, more compassion, that wise compassion. This also leads to this wonderful quality of equanimity, of this, which is more of a kind of a mental state, this mental stability that is able to have some composure, some level-headedness that doesn't get so disturbed by these changes or what's going on this week, for example, because there's a bit of a broader view. Yes, everything changes, and yes, now might be busy, but next month, next week, tomorrow might be different. So allowing that change. In talking about this, there's a lot of the qualities of mindfulness that are all woven through this: acceptance and openness and curiosity. And so I hope this is something that resonates for you, And I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, your comments wherever you happen to see this posted would be great. I'd also love to hear, because I'm learning this too, I'd love to hear your own kind of ideas and ways that you kind of adapt and change your expectations to still meet your needs, even when it's a difficult or challenging time. So I'd like to just take a few moments to rest here, to pause, a little time of meditation. So wherever you are is the perfect place. And whatever posture you can get into that feels relatively comfortable, that's the perfect posture. And you can let your eyes close. As you sit here, noticing how you've entered this time of meditation, just the state of things in this moment. How's your body feeling? How's your emotional state? What's the flavor, the tones of the mood that you find yourself with right now? What's going on in your mind? Quick thoughts, scattered, clear. Whatever you're tuning into right now, in your mind, in your heart, in your body, breathing into it. A response of, yes, this is here, this too. Allowing it to be here, to be like this, even while knowing that it will not always be like this. Beginning to tune inward, finding within you the sensing of the breath moving through your body. Knowing that no matter what is occurring internally, externally, this breath continues to flow. Sensing the steadiness of this movement. Perhaps the sense of ease with which the breath is moving, unhurried, perfect timing. As much as possible, letting these moments here of stillness be free from judgment or expectation. It's natural if that's here, but it's not necessary. Just by sitting here, just by making this time, you're doing well. The mind travels away and then comes back to the breath. With the wise compassion of knowing that you can just begin again. Here, right here's another breath. In a moment, I'll ring the bell. Letting your eyes open, your breath deepen, taking a stretch if you'd like. I don't know about you, but to me that felt really nice, just having that time to be still, even for just a little bit. So the other day, a person reminded me of a quote that or a little short poem that I would love to share with you. No promises that I will get it exactly perfect, but you can even look it up to see the right words. And it's by John O'Donohue. And he wrote, I would like to live as a river flows, carried along by the surprise of its own unfolding. I love that. And I think that's what we're talking about right now of just that idea of flowing along without necessarily knowing what's coming, but just that it's unfolding in each moment, and not fighting it, but being with it, being with ourselves compassionately. I'm wishing you well today and beyond.